Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, there you go, all of you. Very good. Very good. You guys have definitely gotten your money's worth. So, all right. So, last but not least, we have Miss Krista Smith. She is the Director of Social Media in the Division of Marketing and Communications here at Texas A&M University. She earned her bachelor's degree in communications from A&M and her MBA from the University of Houston. Ms. Smith works to build the digital presence of the university to grow the Texas A&M brand, which is consistently recognized as one of the most engaging and influential universities online. Her message today is social media and you, managing your online brand, and I think she knows a thing or two about that. So please welcome Krista Smith.
Thank you. All right, I know you guys just did this, but I would not be a good representation of the Texas A&M brand if I did not greet you all with a howdy. Howdy. Thank y'all, appreciate it. So we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna talk about social media, what that means in a personal context, what that means in your professional context as well. And I will go ahead and give you guys a disclaimer. I don't usually talk about myself a lot when I do presentations or trainings like this. I decided to kind of give you some examples from my own life. So you'll see a lot of things about me. I'll talk a little bit more openly about myself. And you can also kind of consider yourselves lucky. Sometimes when I do trainings about social media usage with our student groups, I will get a list of names beforehand. And so I have been known to put some pretty unflattering photos of students online that I find on their Facebook page. So count your blessings today. So let's get started. And there's confetti, so it's going to be exciting. I'll tell you guys just a little bit about me. Personally, you kind of heard my bio, professional take. I'm a Texas girl through and through, born and raised in Orange, Texas, a little bitty town on the Gulf Coast, right on the Texas-Louisiana border. So I do love a good bowl of gumbo. I also love Texas A&M University a lot. I wouldn't be standing here otherwise. And I obviously love social media a lot, too. This is just a little bit more about me. This is my family. This is my brother, my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law. Love my family to death. I'm very, very family-oriented. I spend a lot of time with them when every chance that I can. They're some of the best people that you'll ever meet, promise. This is me and my fiance. I'm getting married in July. So that's really exciting. This is kind of a good representation of things we like to do. We're both Aggies, love Aggie sports. So right now, you could see us at a baseball game or a tennis match in the spring. We frequent football in the fall, as I'm sure several of you in here do too. So also pretty important. And this is my dog, Layla. This kind of summarizes her energy level these days. She turns 11 next week. So she's kind of my little partner in crime, but just some kind of stuff about me to help you guys get to know me a little bit better. So what do I do here? What do I do professionally at Texas A&M? So you kind of heard, I'm director of social media for the university. My team and I manage any digital channel that you see that says Texas A&M University. So some of those little icons you may recognize, and maybe you follow us or you like us on Facebook, you follow us on Twitter, maybe you like us on Instagram. Some of those icons, if you didn't know that we were there, that's okay. You won't hurt my feelings. So it kind of sounds fancy, but a lot of times my job is I do get my hands dirty a little bit. This is a very flattering photo of me. I was helping our photographer out in a photo shoot, and he was testing lighting, so he likes to play this game where he gets all these lovely, lovely pictures of me. Sometimes my job means that you put all the Aggie yell leaders on a golf cart and you drive them through campus to get from one place to the other for a photo shoot. This is kind of like having your own little parade through campus. It's really kind of an odd experience if you ever get to experience that. And sometimes, just to get a good shot, I get on my hands and knees to help Reveille take a good selfie. So my job is never a dull day at the office. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm really consider myself blessed that I get to come to work every day and combine two things that I love very much, Texas A&M University and social media. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about you guys, right? So who all has heard of the term personal brand? Anybody? Okay, do you think, like, you know, for those of you who know what that term is, do you think you know what your personal brand is? Have a good understanding of that at all? No? Okay, so let's talk about that, right? So what is a personal brand? Well, right now what I want you guys to do, and this isn't anything that you have to share with everybody else, you can either write it down, maybe think to yourself, just a little exercise here. Pick any 2 words that you think best describes you and what you want to be known for. So what makes you unique? What kind of reflection do you want other people to have of you? And so some kind of things to think about. Maybe think about life experiences that you had. Maybe think about your culture. Maybe a role that you have, some kind of choice that you have made. So think kind of about that a little bit. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to think about that. And writing it down is helpful if you have a pen or something and want to write it down. Gives you something to reflect on. So, this is my kind of definition of what a personal brand is, right? And I want you guys to kind of think of those 2 words in the back of your mind. If you have more than 2, that's okay too. Sometimes a personal brand is a collection of things. But my definition of what a personal brand is, it's a collection of your values and what you stand for and any kind of offering that you can deliver, right? So there is only one of you. There's only one person like you that has the skill set that you do, that have the experiences that you do. You are very, very unique, and your personal brand should be a reflection of that. So when you think about that and think about those 2 words that I mentioned, the good thing to think about when you talk about creating your personal brand, think about what are you passionate about. You really need to define it. So let those 2 words that you're thinking about kind of be a reflection, kind of be a jumping off point of where you want to go. Get some feedback from people, right? So your friends and family probably know you the best, maybe your spouse. Bounce some of these things off of you, right? If one of the words that you thought about just now is kind, are you reflecting that? Ask someone, ask somebody that you're close to, that you care. Are you kind? Do you come across that way? Getting feedback is always a good thing, right? And sometimes maybe you will realize that maybe you're not coming across as being so kind. Maybe there are some things that you could have said that would have been a little nicer, right? So get some feedback from some people that you trust, and once you kind of get in your mind what you want to be known for, what you want people to think of when they think of who you are, stick to that, right? That should be a good reflection of you, and that should also be something that would reflect onto your online self as well. So let's talk about your personal social media. And I just kind of want to test your knowledge and then also do a personal poll for you guys. Who all in this room is on Facebook? Who posts on Facebook? What kind of things do you post? Family, pictures, vacations, recipes. It's my favorite. All right. Who is on Twitter? Okay. Who actively tweets? All right, that's pretty accurate. The majority of Twitter users are actually what we call lurkers. So they're not creating the content. They're just kind of consuming it and looking at other things that people they follow are posting. So kind of accurate. Instagram. Is anyone on Instagram? Okay, does anybody use Instagram stories? Do you know what Instagram stories are? Okay, so like the quick little shots that disappear after 24 hours. Let's see, anybody on Snapchat? All right, do we watch our kids on Snapchat? Make sure they're behaving? Yeah? All right, let's see, Pinterest. That should be all my ladies. Okay, and some of my fellas too, it's okay. Let's see, YouTube. Does anybody have a YouTube account? Does anyone create videos, or do you just watch YouTube videos? So some create, most people just watch. Let's see, is there something that I didn't say that you guys are on social media-wise? LinkedIn, duh, yeah, right, LinkedIn, okay. Let's see, Reddit sometimes is one. Does anybody know what Reddit is? Yeah, Reddit. So Reddit's pretty entertaining. The Aggie Reddit's pretty fun. Okay, cool. So I want to test y'all's knowledge on social media and what you kind of know. So now I kind of have a good indicator of where everybody is. Here's your scenario. First scenario we're going to talk about. You have all of your privacy settings to lock down your account to be viewed by only your friends and followers. Are the photos that you just shared viewable by the public? Anybody? Depends. Depends on what? Okay, your background info, usually public. Somebody else over here? Okay, if you tag someone, they can see it. Anybody else have an idea? Is that viewable by the public? Okay, so the answer, yes, everything you put online is public. I don't care if you have everything locked down and everything's private. Everything you put on the internet is public information. And why is that? Screenshots, right? Screenshots. How many of us have seen something and we screenshot it on our phone, we text it to somebody, maybe we're gossiping, I can't believe she put that on Facebook, maybe we're sharing a recipe or something else. Everything can be screenshot. A good example of this that I'll tell you guys that happened today that we've kind of been watching, maybe you saw this, the University of Toledo tweeted this picture of Shrek this morning, the Disney character, and they said, if we get 500,000 retweets on this tweet, we're gonna change our university mascot to Shrek, okay? Because the internet's the internet, it just goes crazy. It got close to 100,000 retweets. All these very high-end sports writers were tweeting about it. And the University of Toledo freaked out. They deleted the tweet. And what has happened now is everyone online is mad at them that they deleted the tweet, and everyone has a screenshot. So if you go look right now, University of Toledo, and you go look at the most recent photos, it's literally hundreds of screenshots of this Shrek tweet. Okay, so it does not go away. Even if you delete it, University of Toledo, the people remember. So just saying, be careful with who you friend on Facebook, be careful with who you follow, and just kind of be aware of that and have that in the back of your mind. Just because you think you're private doesn't mean that that content, that information can't be shared out online. All right, you had a really bad day. Maybe something at work went wrong, everything was going wrong, it was a Monday, and you want to vent about an interaction you have with a colleague, a faculty member, or maybe even a politician. Should you do that on social media? No. Okay. So, this is just one to be cautious, right? Be careful with what you choose to put out online, especially when you are wanting to kind of release some stress. It's okay, but know that what you say online can and will be quoted in the media. We've had instances here at the university where something that one of our staff members has tweeted has created a series of news stories, right? We live in a time, day and age now, where I watch Good Morning America in the morning when I get up, and I'm getting ready to go to work, and can't even tell you how many times it's breaking news when President Trump tweets something, and the lead-in is the tweet that he tweeted about Syria or whatever it is, right? So that's kind of the world that we live in. So you can talk about those things, but just be careful about what you're saying and kind of understand what repercussions that action can take. All right, number 3. So your Facebook photo tags you. Your Facebook friend, tags you in a photo that maybe looks like questionable behavior. Who's gonna see that? Everybody? Everybody? You guys remember the screenshot thing, yay. So this is a setting to kind of go look, and I believe this gentleman over here kind of mentioned this. So Facebook did a default setting. They have a tendency to update privacy issues and not really tell you. And you can see now, given the recent tour that Mr. Zuckerberg has had to do in Congress, that they're kind of paying the repercussions for some of the privacy and data issues that they're having. However, a couple of years ago, they changed the default setting to say friends of friends, right? So what that means is that if I tag my friend in a photo, not only do all of my friends see that, all of her friends see that as well. So not necessarily people I know or are friends with, and I'm sure you guys probably see this on your news feed when photos pop up and of maybe some friends or family members that you have. So just kind of know what that setting is like and how far that reach of that image is extended online just because of that setting on Facebook. And then also don't forget about the screenshot, which you guys remembered. All right, last one. Oh, I thought that was our last one. Never mind. I'll move on to this. So best practices for your personal brand and your social media accounts. Just be careful with what you post, right? Social media is a great tool. It's an incredible resource. It's a way to keep connected with people. Something that I have seen that's been really cool. I was of the generation that when I went to college, Facebook was just becoming a thing. So when I graduated, I have kept up with all of my hometown friends. I know what everybody's doing, who's got married, who has kids, who's getting married, all that kind of stuff, things that my mom, her generation, she doesn't have that, right? Like she's just gotten to where she could. But I remember growing up, and even when I was in college and going home, and we'd be in the grocery store, and she would see somebody and hadn't seen them for 15 years. They would catch up on how everybody's doing, all that kind of stuff, right? I've never had to do that because they've always been my friend on Facebook, right? So it's a really, really incredible tool. But especially now in today's day and age, just be careful with what you're sharing, right? Be consistent in what you're posting and be authentic, right? We have this kind of realization, and some of you guys, I know if you think about like your personal Facebook or Instagram feeds, we make our lives look perfect online, right? We do. You edit yourself how you're represented on social media. And I know you could probably think of like that one Facebook friend that you have that like her marriage is perfect, her kids are adorable, she cooks like dinner every night, all of her kids, like anytime they go to like kindergarten, they have like the best beautiful Pinteresty creative crafts that they bring to their class, right? Like I know you're thinking about, but just remember that, right? Be consistent, be authentic, be true to who you are. Also, this is a question I get a lot. Should I separate my personal stuff from my public stuff, right? So if I'm a public figure, if I want to interact professionally on social media, what do I do? Do I create separate accounts? Do I not? There's not a right or wrong answer on that, but if you guys want to do one thing for me today and just one thing only, make that choice, right? So I have colleagues that have completely separate personas online. They have personal Facebook pages, personal Twitter accounts, and then they have completely public-facing accounts as well. It's however you are comfortable with doing it and how you feel. There's not a right or wrong answer on that. The other thing to do, the other thing that I always kind of ask people to do, and this is the perfect time because it's spring, do some frequent spring cleaning on your social media accounts, right? We have kind of seen the benefit of that from Facebook and all of the kind of third-party apps that have access to your account. So if you have perhaps entered an online contest or you want to print out a coupon and you've signed in using Facebook, go look back and see what applications have access to your data and to your personal information. So I tell people, do this at least once a year. Just go through and look at the social media accounts that you have on your phone or on your desktop and go through and check those privacy settings. Make sure nothing's updated without you knowing. Make sure you're comfortable with what is being able to be seen. Facebook also has a really cool feature where you can go and look at your profile as a specific person. So some of you may have seen that. It's in your privacy settings. So for example, if I don't want my mom to see all the photos that I'm tagged in, I can block her from that, right? And so I can go and type her name in and I can see what she sees when she goes to my Facebook page. If you're in instances where maybe you're friends with somebody that you're like, I don't want to be friends with them, but that's going to be a whole thing if I'm not, and that kind of weird stuff, you can protect yourself from what information that person actually sees. So that's a really cool feature of Facebook. This is my fun billboard analogy. The one thing to tell you guys about using personal social media, consider anything that you put online before you post it. Are you comfortable with that being on a billboard on Highway 6? And if there is anything in your mind, any little hesitation at all that you're not comfortable with that, don't post it online. It's a simple gut check, right? If it's a photo, like the photo of my dog that she looks adorable on like the library book, I would want everybody to see her. She's so cute. So think about that, right? Just do a little check before you click publish. So any questions on personal social media usage? Anything? No? You guys are pros. So this is me again. I'm going to talk about myself. This is my actual social media account. So this is my Twitter, Krista0955. This is my Facebook page. I'm pretty consistent with what I show you guys, right? I tweet a lot with my fiance, and we're at a baseball game. Shocker. This is my family because we looked like really good at Easter. Everybody's all dressed up, looks real nice. And this is my dog. She had like the best Good Friday. So I'm pretty consistent across those things that I tell you are important. This is pretty much what you're going to find that I share personal-wise. All the stuff that's really important to me, the stuff that shapes me, makes me the person that I am, that's what you'll see on my social media. So talking about professional social media, if I could say that word, usage, right? So these are just some interesting statistics I found that came from a recent survey with Career Builder. This is just, if you don't think social media matters, you don't want to be online, you don't want to have an online presence, let's kind of go through some of these. So 70% of employers that responded to this survey said that they use social media before they hire candidates. They use it to screen job candidates, right? The really interesting thing is that I found out of all these stats is that 57% of employers are less likely to call someone if they can't find them online, right? So if you can, and think about it, right? Like if, let's think like your son or daughter is like going out on a date, right? I know somebody in here, you don't have to confess it to us, but like you've creeped on them before. You've tried to go find them on Facebook and see what's going on. It's okay. But think about it. If you can't find that person, that's a little alarming, right? Like it can kind of, and you can obviously see employers are paying attention to that too. So this is just basically online. These are some statistics I found interesting. If you guys want to look up the full survey, it's got some really good stuff on careerbuilder.com. This is kind of how to think about yourself, right? And this kind of gets back to our personal brand stuff, right? This is you in the center, right? All the icons around you, those are all the things that we just talked about where you said where you are, right? So if you have a Facebook page, if you have a Twitter account, if you're on Snapchat, think of all those things that are kind of making up you. All of that information, all of that content you're creating reflects back and creates your online self, right? That's usually the first impression we get of people. If we Google them, we look them up, that type thing. So just kind of a good metaphor to think about how all those little pieces go together and make up the online you. So red flags. If you are looking for a job or you're just kind of networking professionally, there are some things that can kind of be off-putting or some things that we look for that we would consider red flags or any kind of content that questions your dependability, right? These are photos, videos that you're tagged in, posts that you have publicly shared, any kind of content, including tweets, status updates, likes, groups, your bio, and then who you follow, right? So something else when you go, if you leave here today and you go do your social media spring cleaning, do these things too. Go look at all the groups that you're in on Facebook. Sometimes some of those groups that you maybe joined a few years ago, I've seen sometimes where they've been really unflattering photos. I've done some training with some of our student leaders before, and we'll go through and look at all of their social media. Some of them join some groups where there are some scantily clad women, or maybe they're following somebody or have liked a tweet that's not in the best light. So go through, double check some of those things. Make sure that what you're kind of putting out there isn't anything that could be viewed offensive, isn't anything that's discriminatory in any kind of way. And we see this time and time again. If you pay attention to the news, some celebrity has posted something online, they've liked some kind of tweet like 5 years ago that people now find offensive. So this happens all the time. Just go back periodically and double check what kind of groups, what kind of content you're in, what kind of things you like, and who you follow. So I think I've said a lot of things that might scare you about social media, and I didn't want that to be this way. It's like, oh, it's terrifying, right? But in all honesty, social media is this incredible resource. It's this incredible tool that we literally carry around in our pockets if you've got all your social media apps on your smartphone, right? And the really cool thing about it is that it's free. Like you can connect with all these people and have all these really great resources professionally for you, completely free, right? So who do you want to learn from? Who do you want to be inspired by? Do you have a favorite celebrity chef? Do you have a favorite blogger? One of my favorite things to do, I love Instagram. I follow a lot of my favorite bloggers, my favorite food bloggers on Instagram. And so I constantly am like wanting to make these really fancy dinners that I'm way not talented enough to make based on who I follow on Instagram, but I aspire to maybe one day make something that would look good like that, right? So think about things. What are things you want to learn to do? What are things that you find interesting or find cool? There are so many wonderful people, wonderful influencers that are sharing such great content and such really cool ways to kind of help with educational purposes as well. So for higher ed explicitly, so higher ed is really cool, really has embraced social media. And this is a resource on InsideHigherEd.com. It's a Twitter directory, and it's kind of extensive, but what's really cool is it shows you what are some already active happening Twitter chats or some popular accounts that people follow who are in your area. So you can go higher ed specific if you wanted to look at all the student affairs resources that were happening, if you wanted to look at all of the things in human resources that were happening within higher ed, you can do that. And this is really cool. They'll even show you when there are Twitter chats happening. They'll tell you how often they happen, what day they happen, when they happen. So it's pretty cool. think about what you want to do to learn. Like, what do you want to learn how to do? There are so many tools out there, so many things that are available, and it could be things both professionally. It can also be things that you just want to do personally as well. So I'm trying to learn how to cross stitch. I'm not real good at sewing, so that's pretty fun. But I found some really cool stuff on Pinterest that I've been able to, I know what I need to buy and what I need to do, and I have everything. So we'll cross my fingers and see if that works, right? But then also from a professional standpoint, there are all kinds of tutorials and resources available on social media to help you do your job better. Go search, just go look and find. There's so many resources out there, and I can't stress this enough to you guys. It's all free. It's incredible. Once again, I'm going to talk about myself. This is the last time, I promise. This is a hashtag that's really big in my world. It's hashtag HESM. Does anybody know what that might stand for? Higher education social media, yay! So this is a really big hashtag in higher ed social media, and I'll just tell you guys briefly what using this hashtag has done for me. You can tell I talk about a lot of different things on it, so like this is something about the biggest social media changes that have happened in the last year. This is something, like sometimes if it's a cool tip that I know would help a social media manager, if you manage a Facebook page, you can actually search all your past posts. So there's this really cool feature that Facebook added, didn't think to tell anybody that they added, and it's kind of buried, but it's fascinating if you're a Facebook page manager. And then also, I brag about Texas A&M a lot when we do something really cool, because I want other people to be jealous of how awesome we are. So this is one, maybe you guys saw this Facebook post. This is, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Donald. So Donald is a fife player at Mount Vernon, and so this was over winter break, and some of our students went and were touring up there, and they meet him, and this is a video of Donald playing the Aggie War Hymn, he's in full character costume, pretty cool, and then he actually shares, we post this video on Facebook. This is Donald. I know you guys probably can't really read that, but Donald talks about why he knows the Aggie War Hymn. Like he tells this incredible story about how he was in the Army and like his commanding officer was an Aggie, and like Donald always knew if he was in a bad mood, he could play the Aggie War Hymn, and his commanding officer got really excited. So it was really cool. We had this really awesome moment that we were able to share, and I bragged about that. And then this one is also kind of a bragging point for us, and kind of a fun fact. So Texas A&M is the most followed public university in the country, and so when we hit that milestone, I bragged about it. So pretty fun stuff. And I'll also tell you professionally what that hashtag has also done for me. I have met a lot of really, really awesome people. I have some colleagues that I have met through the use of this hashtag at other universities that have just become incredible resources for us and really good friends. So I'm good friends with the social media manager at Clemson University. He's a fantastic guy. If some of you guys are in my social media, my campus group, he's done some trainings with us before, really great guy. I've also met the social media managers from Michigan State University through this as well, through Twitter, and they're also fantastic. I've really leaned on them for some different resources. They've done the same for us. Met the social media manager from West Virginia University as well. So a lot of really, really great professional resources where I can pick up the phone and call someone that I know is in the exact same position that I am to bounce an idea off of them or to get some feelings, kind of do some gut checks with them as well. So once again, all that because of just the hashtag, right? So what about your social brand? How do we enhance that? How do you kind of make yourself more present or more out there in the professional sense of the world? First of all, a really good way, especially if you like to write, start a blog. Blogs are great assets, great tools, and are a really good way for you to share the knowledge that you have with your peers, right? And some of you may already follow blogs. I told you guys I love food blogs, but there's a couple of social media blogs that I follow as well. So share your knowledge, share what you know, share your passion, and you'll meet other people that have that as well. If you're not on Twitter, hop on Twitter. Just try it out. It's a lot easier to get on board than it was in the old days. And you can follow people in industries that you want to learn about or people that you want to know. The really great thing about Twitter is that you can interact with just about anybody, right? And I've had some instances just personally and some of you may have in here too, when you have a large brand that interacts with you, that means something to you, right? Like, I remember where I was when like Waffle House retweeted me. That was like a big moment in my life, which is really sad. But anyway, so there's a really big impact that can be had on social media, and that can really be had on Twitter. And like I said, higher ed loves Twitter. If you're really interested in your area, just definitely check that out. And then your LinkedIn account, right? So the one that I forgot about, that's really important. Make the most out of what's on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has undergone some changes in the last couple of years where your profile that you have is much more robust than it was, right? So we like to think of LinkedIn as this online resume where I just slap everything that I already have in the Word document on my desktop into LinkedIn. But you have opportunities to make your LinkedIn account so much more robust. So you can share articles on there. You can share presentations where you can upload things that you've done or things that you've presented on, and people can view those. There's a lot of really great tools that you can do on LinkedIn now that you couldn't have done in the past. So go back through, check that out. Check out your LinkedIn profile as well. LinkedIn will also tell you, they give you a little bar on the top right corner, and it'll tell you how close your profile is to being complete, right? Now, you don't have to put all the content that it says, but it's a really helpful gauge of what kind of content LinkedIn thinks you need to put on there to make your profile be the best it can be. So definitely go through and check that out as well. All right, so our last section we'll get to, talking about managing your online self, and you guys will kind of see some overlap here. I hope I will have tied this all together. First and foremost thing that I encourage all of you to do, either right now or when you leave here, Google yourself, right? Would anyone like to admit having Googled themselves before? Yeah, okay, right? So when you come to terms of thinking about all the things that we've talked about online, Google your name, okay? Now, if you're like me and you have the most generic name possible, Krista Smith. So if you just Google Krista Smith is the author, or not the author, but an editor in Vanity Fair magazine. She has a much, like all these pictures, like if you look at her Google images, like it's all pictures of this woman with celebrities, right? So yeah, I fight the generic name battle. If you Google Krista Smith, Texas A&M, this is all about me, right? These are all my search results. So I know the first 2 pages of Google results, if you Google Krista Smith, Texas A&M, these are all things that people can see about me, right? You first and foremost, go to my LinkedIn profile, so you can see all of that information. You can see my salary, right? That's something to kind of be cognizant about. You can also see, this is our Marcom page, so you can go look at my bio, you can get all my contact information. This goes to my Twitter account. This goes to my Facebook page. This is a blog post I wrote for IABC, which is a local chapter of the International Association of Business Communicators in town, right? So I know all of those things are present with me online. And like I said, I think I go, if you just keep going next, I go about 2 pages back where all of that information is relevant to me. So just something to be aware of. Google yourself, see what's out there about you, right? So here's just a checklist, some things to do today, some things to do when you do your spring social media cleaning, but just to be cognizant of what's out there with you online. The first step, Google yourself, right? Second step, check your privacy settings. Third step, and we talked about this a little bit, you need to be searchable, right? If you are like me, make your name searchable, right? So if it's John Smith, maybe use your middle initial, John W. Smith, right? Something that makes you unique, something that makes you findable, right? Build your online brand, right? If you don't like what the Google search results are telling you, do something different, make something different. So some of those things we talked about, creating a Twitter account, creating a Facebook page for yourself, blogging, all of those things come up higher in Google search results. So make sure that your online brand, when someone Googles you and they look at the first page of Google search results, that you're happy with all those things that come up, right? And stay vigilant, okay? I've read all kinds of stories where, and some of you may have seen like the show Catfish, where people use a photo of somebody else online and use it to impersonate them and all this other kind of crazy stuff. So stay vigilant with what is out there with your images, what is out there with your name. It's not only, it's to protect yourself, right? Protect yourself. So if you're just waking up, and I hope I didn't bore you too badly, these are the top 3 things that I want you to kind of take away from this session that we've had together. Remember that what you share online reflects on your personal brand, right? That reflects on you personally. And we have seen countless headlines, countless stories where people have been celebrated because of something they've posted online, and then they have lost everything because of something they've posted online. So just be aware of what you share online and how that reflects back on you, right? Be diligent in when you're managing your online self. So keep in mind what you're posting, what's being said about you, and realize that you may not necessarily be generating that content. Somebody else may be talking about you. And then the third and probably most important thing, have fun. I mean, social media is really, really fun. It's a really great tool. It's a really great resource. And I hope I didn't scare you too badly. And you're like, I'm going to delete everything and not go online ever again. But it's really, really a fun way to meet other people, to have a relationship, to keep up with those that are closest to you. So definitely encourage you guys to have fun doing social media. So, any questions? Whoops. Back too far.
We have a few minutes for some questions. So my microphone, folks, I saw a hand go there and a hand here.
What would you recommend for blending some personal and professional if you're not keeping it separate? So do you friend or follow your coworkers, your boss, your employees? Do you not touch that at all with the 10-foot pole and only your super close friends? How do you kind of navigate that?
So I think once again, that would just go back to something that you would be comfortable with doing, right? You know your life, your relationships with those people better than I do. But my rule of thumb, how I do stuff personally, my Twitter account is totally public. My Instagram is too. So if you wanted to go look at that, you wanted to go share that, or wanted to go see what I do, you totally can. I blend both professional things and both personal stuff on my Twitter account. So if you come follow me for, the stuff I say about social media, then you're occasionally going to see a picture of my dog. I also really like plants, so you'll see that too. So like there's a good kind of mixture of stuff there. In terms of whether or not you should friend your colleagues, that's something, once again, it's just going to be your call and what you're comfortable with. So some of us have worked here for a long time. Some of our colleagues, our coworkers that we see every day at the office are some of our greatest friends. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a relationship with your colleagues outside of the office. How that comes down to on Facebook, so there's a couple of different scenarios you can do. Some people have a hard line where anyone they work with, they will not friend them on Facebook, right? There's several people in my office that I know do that. However, there's some people that are friends with everybody in their office, right? Anyone who sends them a friend request that they are, that's totally fine too. The other kind of thing that I'll tell people to use a lot is that view Facebook as feature. So if you don't want to create any friction with maybe one of your colleagues, but you also are kind of like, I don't know about being Facebook friends with them, restrict their access to what they can see of your content, right? Like if you don't want them to see that kind of stuff. Or you can have that conversation if you don't friend them. You don't have to accept everybody's friend request, right? And they may or may not necessarily know that. That's a conversation you can have too. I've had that conversation with a couple of people where it's like, hey, I just met you. I'm not going to be your Facebook friend. Like, I'm not comfortable doing that. And so you don't be afraid to have that dialogue too. But it just kind of goes back to a mixture of what you're comfortable with, those with your coworkers seeing your information, and then also kind of navigating what socially could happen too, right? So, yes.
Hello. Oh, sorry. This hasn't happened to me, knock on wood, but what if somebody hacks your account and creates a new Facebook and, so
So Facebook has some really good ways, most of the social media networks have some really good ways of reporting that information, right? So if you go to the Facebook Help Center, they have a form and a report on how to report that your information has been hacked. I have not had that happen personally, but I have had it happen at the university setting before. Facebook's pretty quick. So is Twitter. Twitter's probably more quicker to respond than Facebook is. So they know that makes them look bad, especially in the light of everything that's kind of happening with privacy settings and data issues and security breaches and all that kind of stuff. So there are some really good reporting tools. Just report it as soon as you can see it. And if there's a way if you can do any kind of two-factor authentication, so make sure that there is a backup email address associated with your social media accounts. Make sure there is a phone number associated with your social media accounts, because that's a really easy way that you can get into that account and shut everything down without having to go through Facebook either, right? So make sure you have those things.
Is it really shutting it down now?
So the important thing to do if you think if you've been hacked, and I know probably a lot of you have seen, like, you have a friend that they post, like a popular one is like Ray-Bans, right? Like they tag you in this picture to buy Ray-Bans, and obviously that person's been hacked. If that person is you, when you get access of your account, immediately change your password. And that will take care of just about every issue that you have with it. And make sure it's a really strong password and not just a word, right? So. Anybody else?
I'm pretty sure Facebook is going in my contacts list and pulling my contacts
Mm-hmm.
out. They just do that, right?
So at some point, you would have had to grant them access to do that. Are you talking about your phone contacts?
Yeah.
Is it with the Facebook Messenger app?
That too.
Okay.
It also recommends, people you know.
Yeah, so if you wanted to separate that, it kind of does that on default. If you download the Messenger app, it will pull in your personal contacts on your cell phone, and it will sync those people up if it knows that you're friends with them. You can go disable that feature. So if you go into your Messenger settings, you can turn off that ability for Facebook to have that information, and that should take care of that, and it should separate that out. And then supposedly they're not keeping that data, so.
LinkedIn does the same thing too.
Yeah, you can also go through and check that privacy setting too, where if you wanted to separate those things, you could do that as well.
Anybody else?
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Krista. Okay, we are almost done. You got those white tickets? We got the best for last, right?